What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 18 of Pay to Glory. So first off, I just want to start by thanking everybody for the support on the last couple of videos. Obviously, packing Patrick Vieira was a huge boost to the channel. I think that video has done really well, considering the size of my channel so far. So I just want to thank everybody for their support and the comments that they've left and people liking the video. That was felt really good, so I appreciate you guys doing that to support the channel so far and help grow it. As we start the video here, if you guys could leave a like on the video down below for this one. We have obviously a huge change to our midfield here, a lot of gameplay that you guys are going to see, so I would really appreciate if you guys could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel also if you haven't already done that. Also, I'm on Twitter as well. I like to respond to anybody who leaves any comments or tweets me or anything like that. So my Twitter is @mweezy04, all one word. So I'll leave it down below in the description as well, so you guys can actually add me on Twitter and interact with me. I like to respond to everything that you guys like to, tweet me or message me or anything like that. So I always like interacting with all the people in the community. So what you guys are seeing here from the start of the video is I basically had to sell quite a bit of stuff. So what we did was we overhauled the midfield, which you guys are going to see. We sold Marcel Desailly, we sold Kevin De Bruyne's Team of the Group stage or the Frozen card, and we basically had to sell a bunch of other things. The Luis Gustavo inform, the Mesut Ozil, a bunch of squad fitnesses, because we wanted to build this. I wanted to put Lothar Matthaus in there, so the 91 rated center midfielder. There's also an 88 center back version, but we don't want to use him because I don't think he's necessarily that big. He's not really built for center back, but in terms of a center mid, he is absolutely phenomenal. Like, look at those stats; those are absolutely amazing. So the big thing for me was getting defensively a little bit better. I've always prided myself on my defense, but it wasn't necessarily something that I was doing very well in this series. So defensively, I was controlling my center backs too often, and I was letting my midfield kind of stand around and not really contribute. So unfortunately, even though I hate to advocate this, I was playing a lot more with my center midfielders and basically playing kind of towards FIFA 17 style of just controlling my center mids and letting the center backs do most of the work, because I was conceding too many goals, and now I've locked up a lot on my defensive standpoint. I'm not conceding as many goals as I have in the past, so that's been really a plus, which you guys are going to see in this gameplay. The biggest thing is I was using guys that, were a little bit more offensive minded. So Kevin De Bruyne, the reason we sold him, he was fantastic. I didn't really want to sell him, but it was more so that he just didn't fit the center midfield position. Obviously, with Maradona coming into the squad, I'm not going to be taking him out of the team. So Kevin De Bruyne was kind of expendable, so he just didn't make a really good box-to-box midfielder. He was a really good cam, but he just wasn't a good box-to-box guy. He was too slow. He's defensively awful. I think he was only 50-something, but I also had like a hunter on him, so he was just very offensive-minded, and he didn't play the center mid position that I needed him to. Also, Marcel Desailly for 800,000 coins was absolutely abysmal for me. I don't know if it was just the way my team was created, but I used him for a handful of games, between 5 to 10 games, and he was nowhere near worth the 800,000 that you'd have to spend to do it. I don't know if it was just the composition of my team, if it was in my head, or I feel like I was getting moraled or handicapped or whatever the version was that, I think he was just doing it. But like, you just need to use guys that you're comfortable with, and he never really made me feel confident in the back. For 83 pace, 88 defending, 88 physical, he never did that. I just basically brought Bakayoko back in the squad. He's 1/400th of the cost, so he's like 2K or something like that. And Marcel Desailly's like 800,000, so you tell me what's the better value. Bakayoko was absolutely insane in terms of his abilities, so why not just if you can't beat him, join him type of deal. So we went with him. Also, we picked up Dele Alli's inform. That ran about 189k or something like that, and the reason I did that was Dele Alli is actually a very good central midfielder. He's very strong, he's got very good interceptions, he's always a problem whenever I've had to play him. So I thought, why not try out his inform? He's probably not a guy that's going to stay in the team the entire year, but why not just try him out just see what he has to do. And so far, he's been really solid. But the bigger guys for me, you know, Bakayoko and Ali are great. But the big guy for me, obviously, not just Maradona, but Lothar Matthaus. Lothar Matthaus is probably the best central midfielder I've used all year. He's just the epitome of everything that you want from box to box. He was about 1.7 million. So as you guys know, I had to sell a lot of those assets, a lot of stuff that I was kind of harboring in the club that I was going to keep for eventually the Henrik Larsson, you know, SBC, but we'll probably have to, you know, stock up again for that, because this was just a card that was just too good. If his SBC for his prime version ends up being, you know, relatively decent cost, which it probably won't be, if I could get it for selling this version plus anything else in my club, outside of Maradona, I'd consider doing it, because he's probably just even that much better. But if you look at his stats, you know, they're absolutely massive. You know, I think it's 87 pace, 88 defending, 82 physical or something like that. His passing's great. The only thing that's not fantastic is his dribbling, but it's not a big deal. I'm not really that concerned with his dribbling, because he's not going to be a guy that, you know, I'm trying to dangle with too much. He's just a guy that I need to be a real workhorse in the midfield. And I can tell you from this first game, which you guys are going to see him score a couple goals, I didn't even expect him to be a goal scorer. Like, here he goes. He just slots a nice little pass into the far post there. I didn't really expect him to be a goal scorer, but he's just, you know, he's good in front of goal as well, because he's got decent shots. His finishing's not super high, but his long shots are like 92, and I think his shot power is like, or his long shots are like 93, and his shot power is 92. And let me tell you, as far as him getting up and down the field, everything that you could ask for from a central midfielder. So the biggest things that I needed to look for was just interceptions, actually. That was one thing that my team was really lacking. I don't know what Maradona is doing there. He took a touch wide from the net and missed a wide open net. I did not expect that from Maradona. But anyway, so when it comes to interceptions, to me, that was something that my team was massively lacking. It was because I guess they were just so offensive-minded with Gundogan in there, and even though he was okay, he's not, you know, at this point in FIFA, he's kind of a little bit of a weakling for a team that I'm trying to build. But, you know, Kevin De Bruyne, even Desai wasn't really good with his interceptions. I'm not sure what his interceptions are, but they definitely didn't feel very good. And every other player that we were using just seemed to let passes by them. So what we did was we got guys that had really high interceptions. Matthaus has got 92 or 90. It's either 92 or 93 interceptions, which is massive. Dele Alli, I put a shadow chem on him, so his defensive standpoints go way up. And also Bakayoko, you guys know how good Bakayoko is. So all of these guys have really high interceptions, and it was just massive in terms of the difference that you see in terms of the gameplay and the way these guys felt. You know, having those midfielders being more focused on their actual positions and being a little bit more defensive minded, it's just changed my gameplay all around. I mean, you guys see in that first game, the opponent wasn't necessarily the best, but I've played worse. But I mean, 7-1 just shows you how evenly the teams comprise now. Like, it's a lot more balanced across the field. So you see it in the first result. The first result there was just a friendly. So the first two games you guys are going to see were just online singles matches. I just wanted to go and try them out. And obviously Lothar Matthaus' first game, that was absolutely massive. He scored a real rocket there with Andrea Pirlo's left foot. So I wasn't expecting that at all. But in terms of the goals that I scored, like, they were just making a lot more significant runs, and, you know, having those guys playing in a defensive mindset and then being able to provide Maradona, Antoine Griezmann, we were able to put back in the squad, which you guys saw. I think he got 4 goals in his first game there. And then Lacazette, I feel a lot more confident with that as an attacking force. So great result in the first game there. They just felt so much better than the previous team. And I just feel so much more confident, which is very important when you're going into a FIFA game. You just, you know, when you're not feeling confident, you're on the back foot and you're just kind of panicking and rushing decisions. When you're feeling confident, your team plays that much better. So as you guys see here, after that first game, we also get our squad battles. This was last night, I guess, that I recorded this. So it's Monday morning now. Sunday night, the squad battles come through, like whatever it is, 9 p.m. or something like that here on the East Coast. The squad battles, like I said, I haven't really been focusing on them that much. I've essentially been playing the featured squad, maybe plus like 1 set or 2 sets or something like that. But The squad battles have just not been really that beneficial. I like the 10k coins or the 12k or whatever like you get, but essentially when it comes to squad battles, if I just play like one set, I can get into silver 2 or something like that, or silver 1, and get like 10,000 coins, or I could sit there playing about 5 sets of games and try to get like gold 3 or gold 2, and you have to play, because the gaps get so much bigger, you have to play that many more games. So I'd rather just play the bare minimum, get 10k, than play an extra like 20 or 30 games offline, which you guys know that I find it mind-numbing to play offline, and try to get an extra, what, 2 to 5k, something like that, maybe one better pack. Excuse me. So it's just, I just don't find it really that beneficial. I get it for, newbies to the game. If you're trying to get your team started, it's definitely a great way to make coins very early. But once you've got, what you consider a bit of a bossier team, unless you're playing like on stress mode, which is like world class or something, and playing all your squad battle games, it's just, to me, it's not really worth it. You either go all in or you just do the bare minimum and get a little bit of extra coinage. So I've chosen the latter, and I've chosen the bare minimum, so not a huge thing for me. Just opening these packs, you guys see, I'm not really expecting a whole lot. It's just going to be some guys that I can eventually hopefully use for the SBC. If I get a couple guys that I can flip on the market, great, but I'm not expecting any walkouts or anything like that. In terms of the gameplay itself, the gameplay felt a lot better. I think a lot of it had to do with my team, so I apologize for being a little bit whiny in previous episodes, but I still feel like morale was in the game. One of the games that I played here, I ended up taking a loss, and then in the game after it, when I go down 1-0, my team kind of fell through the floor, and even at the start of the game, I had opportunities to put balls away, and the guys were just kind of doing some weird things, and I thought, oh no, here we go again. And then I was thankfully able to pull it back and get the victory. But, when it comes to morale, I'm a believer that there's something in the game affecting a team if they're losing constantly. So like, go in and just play some offline games. But there's also elements to my game too that I've needed to change a lot. So one of the things that I've been doing is, this past weekend I watched a lot of pro players, and just not only how they defend, but how they attack. And one of the things that I noticed a lot about players and how they attack is pro players will send in the final third, and even before that, even in their opponent's half, they will send players through on runs when they hit passes. And I don't just mean like look at a player and hit L1. What they're doing is they're holding L1 when they're passing. So as soon as they pass, the player jets forward, and everybody's doing that. So it's pass, 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 and they all sprint forward. And what that does is, 1, it opens up the midfield, and 2, it just sends players in behind. So if the player tries to manually pull out defenders, like, you're going to have a guy who's running in behind. The danger is that you might get a few more offside calls, but it's just going to send that many more players in on runs, because so many times when you're playing in games, it feels like the midfield gets clogged and you're kind of in this chess match and you just can't unlock the door. But what a lot of these pro guys are doing is they're holding L1 when they're passing amongst their midfield, and it's just pass, bang, pass, bang, pass, bang, and they all just sprint forward. And it's very important in terms of just them, getting players on the move and getting out of this kind of feeling like they're stuck in mud type of feeling. So I've been trying to do that. It's not the easiest thing to do because, one, they're not necessarily sitting there waiting for passes. They're all kind of running in lanes. Plus also, it's just a new kind of muscle memory that you're trying to do when you're holding L1 and hitting pass all the time. It's not necessarily the most natural feeling, but it's something that I'm trying to incorporate into my game a lot more, so I can kind of open things up, especially in really tight games. You're going to see it a little bit in some of the gameplay, but I still haven't mastered it. So it's just something that I want to try and incorporate. So hopefully I'll be able to bring that into my game and hopefully step it up to the next level, because right now I feel like I'm okay in terms of holding ball possession, but there's so many times where guys are just sitting there in defensive shells, and especially as the game goes on and people are getting more comfortable with the actual game, they're just going to start defending like FIFA 17 and sitting in these shells that you can't break down. So you need to do something to kind of get out of that rut. So this is the second game that we played. You guys saw the team early on. He had, I think the first game was an Italian team. I don't remember what this guy's team was, but he ends up quitting. It was actually a really good match. This guy was a formidable opponent. It was 1-1, essentially went up and then scored a third one almost right away, and then he just wasn't having that. You could tell that he just got pissed off, and then he just quit right after. He wasn't even waiting for the celebration. So That was that. So those were the two friendlies that I played just to get a feel for the team. Then I went right into the seasons. You guys know that I've been stuck in Division 4. It's just been really frustrating getting out of Division 4. I'm hoping that I can finally do it. I feel a lot more confident with the team right now, so I'm hoping that this is the team that I can use to get out of this division. But Division 4 was just like been absolutely ludicrous to try and get out of. So this is the team we come up against, a 3-4-2-1. Very offensive again. He's got a really weird combo of getting Sane in there as well as he's got, Dembele and Rashford. It's just a weird grouping. I was kind of worried because I was thinking like, oh my God, this guy with this team in a 3-4-1-2. Like normally I would have laughed this off in any previous FIFAs, but this FIFA is very unpredictable. You don't really know what you're going to get. And I thought if this guy's in Division 4, like the most mind-numbing division that I've played so far, with that team, then he obviously knows how to use them offensively. So I was concerned when I was coming up against this guy that he was just going to be an absolute ringer. Like I said, you don't really know what you're going to get. Thankfully, I was able to get on the move here pretty quickly and get some offense. He made a mistake there in the back. Antoine Griezmann walks in, and his low-driven shot is almost a goal every time. You get the ball on Griezmann's left, he's pretty solid in front of goal. He's probably the most consistent shooter that I've used in terms of just like having a strong foot. Big mistake there from the guy at the back. I wasn't expecting Griezmann to actually take that in stride, but thankfully he did take it in stride, and I was able to smash that home, go up 1-0. So this guy, like I said, was very offensive, but even in this formation, you expect him to be really weak defensively, but he was still defending quite well. We had another nice play there. Ball comes into Lacazette. Lacazette cuts in on the guy's right. As soon as he created that gap with his defender there by backing up, he had to kind of circle around to try and get the tackle in. So you guys are going to see his defender kind of run back there, and then he's going to have to try to sprint in and get a slide tackle. But I'd created enough room there that I was able to finesse it around the keeper. So we got 2-0, and I felt a lot more comfortable. The rest of this game, this guy, I think, just went ultra attacking. He was just really high press. He was causing a lot of turnovers. Wasn't really able to generate as much offense as I would have liked. I was just trying to hold possession and try to keep the ball away from him, because what you don't want to do is when guys start pressing really aggressively because they're trying to get back into the game, you don't want to start rushing the ball up the field because you're just going to turn it over, and one of those times the guy's going to end up coming down the field and scoring on you. So for me, just holding possession and keeping the ball away from him and just frustrating him, that's the biggest thing. And also clock management. Clock management is just something that's just so important in this game this year. So if you can really hold the ball and dictate the pace of the game, you're that much further ahead than everybody. So Griezmann ends up getting the third here, so it's pretty much game over from this point. The guy, again, was still pressing. He was still creating opportunities, so I give him credit for continuing. Nice little slip shot there through the legs of Ter Stegen. But nice little win for me here, because, going up 3-0 wasn't a lead that I'm that worried about, especially when I'm controlling the play like the way I was in this game. Like, he doesn't have a formation that's really going to create that many problems. If I can just hold the ball in the midfield, a 3-4-1-2 is not really a formation that I worry about being able to just come at me in waves. It's very offensive, and that's an issue. Like, an issue like that, like it's a guy just kind of weaving through your team and smashing a shot off the post, like those will happen. But for the most part, if you can just kind of weather the storm like this, I got a little lucky here, him just smashing it off the keeper, and I think that might have even hit the post on the second one. But if I can just kind of weather a couple of those attacks, which are going to happen, you're probably going to take the win. So that was nice for us, because we had some bad luck in the start of it. You guys see how offensive this team was there. So 3-0, it puts us on 7 points. We just need one more win to hold the group. But I really want to get out of this division. I'm really tired of playing Division 4. It's just been bad luck for me. I know that 3, 2, and 1 are just going to be even worse, but at this point, I just want to get out of this division. It's just been really, really difficult to try and get out of it, just because you've got so many good players trying to get up to Division 1 still. And then in our second division game, we come up against this guy. This guy had a Serie A team. Not the best team in the world, but not the worst team in the world. It was really well put together. He's got some really decent players. Gomez is an absolute nightmare. Matuidi's really solid. Lukaku's very overpowered. Manolas, very good defender. Allen's really good this year. So I don't want to say it's the best Serie A team that you can have, but it's a meta team. It's guys that are really good. But this guy was just a really good player. You guys are going to see. You can tell from the kickoff right off the start of the game if a guy's going to be a really good player, just in the way he kind of jockeys and the way he closes down space in the way he plays. He understands the game really well. He understands how to play it. Doesn't give the ball away. Like every pass seems to work out fine. And because he holds so much possession, your team will tend to fall through the floor. So you kind of have to battle this possession against possession. You could see from his first goal there, a nice little 1-2 touch in tight. Like I was just like, this is going to be a really long game. I know this guy's going to be good, so I'm in for a bit of a war here. Those are the types of shots right there. A little bit of a hit and a prayer, but I was hoping that I was just going to get lucky with one. You really need luck in some of these games here. But this was one that really annoyed me. He plays the ball through. I had his guy physically held back, and I even put in a slide tackle, and still he seemed to go across my defender and across goal to slam that shot. And I think that was Milinkovic Savic, or however you pronounce his name. I apologize if I'm butchering his name, but he was a guy that his shooting I don't even think is that high, but because he's got lower shooting, it's like it breaks the game. So, I mean, that's not really a fact, but sometimes guys that have like 60 or 70 shooting, it's almost like the shot is so off target that it flies into a corner, if that makes sense. Like if he's trying to aim it towards the bottom corner, it might spray a little bit high, but they still find the back of the net often. He's probably not going to score as many goals as like a guy who's got really high shooting, but every once in a while he'll just hit an absolute rocket. So he went up 2-0, and then he ends up getting that third one right off the start of the second half, like only a couple minutes in, but you could just see the way he was playing. I was like, it was pretty much a lost cause for me. All I cared about was just getting back into the game, trying to score some goals here. So just, trying to work on myself. A lot of guys would quit out, but I'm just trying to work on my gameplay and, play better opponents and really try to figure out, how to get back in these games, even if I can just pull it back to 3-2, try to get some offense out of it rather than just get frustrated and try to win the game. Try to play your best and just score a couple goals and practice creating offense against better players. So we are able to, thankfully, generate some offense. You guys are seeing just in the gameplay. That was really annoying. When you're down 3-0, your team just kind of falls to the floor a little bit. So that shot just hit Griezmann, I think, who was just standing in an offside position. So I was like, something needs to change here. I've been very stubborn in the past about not wanting to change formations. I try to stick to what I know and what I'm comfortable with, but I'm trying to do a little bit, try to get outside my comfort zone and try things a little bit different. So what I did was, I've seen a lot of pros do this. When they're down, they go to a 3-4-1-2, and I just brought on Quaresma and Jesse Lingard just to try to mix things up. Try to generate a little bit more offense, get the team a little bit more offensively sound by having those guys on there instead of, I think, Danny Rose. I ended up taking off. So thankfully, right off the next play, I think I was able to generate it. So this guy was just backing up, trying to stay in front of me. You guys see there, he was just backing up and just trying to cut passing lanes and try to be annoying and get in my way. So I just had a rip with Maradona. I'm like, you know what? I've got one of the highest rated cards in the game. Why not have a go with them? I paid top dollar for him. One of the things that I really need to teach myself is just how to, utilize these guys. Don't feel bad that you've got a really high rated player. You worked hard to get him. You put in your hard earned money, whatever it is. So why not take rips with them? Just because the other guy doesn't have a player that can do that doesn't mean that I should be wasting his talent by trying to walk the ball into the net and score really trampy goals. If he can hit a shot from 20 yards out, why not do it? So we ended up pulling a second one back there. I think it was a little bit due to the fact that it was the 90th minute, but I'll still take credit for the goal. Cut back, his team all just sprinted back. He was just getting a lot of men behind the ball. He was super tight, I guess. His team was just really condensed in the back, and he was also a decent defender, so he was a really hard player to play. He deserved the win. I mean, he was a better player. He scored his goals during the majority of the game, and I scored mine during the 86th and 90th minute. So I give him full credit. He was a good player, but he was somebody that was definitely a very hard opponent, and I would have loved to have got a result against him, but those are the types of guys that make you better. And then we come into our final game here where we play Addy Zero. This guy had a 4-3-3 team, an EPL team. He had Harry Kane, Willian, Mane, David Silva, Cesc Fabregas, Bakayoko. Kind of a standard team, Bailly and Bellerin in the back with Danny Rose. I didn't really feel like this guy was the toughest opponent by any means. He wasn't a bad player, but he wasn't wasn't a great player. He's a Div 4 player, and that's still a compliment. I mean, I'm in Div 4 right now, so take that for what it's worth. But when I was playing this guy, he wasn't generating a lot of offense. This was right off the start of the game. I know that's Bakayoko, but I still expected him to put that in. I tried to go low-driven, bottom left, and instead he hits it right at the keeper. The keeper makes some stupid single-handed save, pushes it off the bar. So after that loss, maybe this was a little bit in my head, but these things started to happen. So through balls that were just finding the keeper, like just last ditch keeper before the player would get to the ball, shots going off the post, and then he scores this. So this was a nice play because my defenders, it was just poor defending on my part by running back. He cut back and played the ball into David Silva. But again, I expected Courtois to have this. You guys are going to see on the replay, Courtois comes out and then he just basically drops down on his side instead of just staying up flat. Like, I've never seen a guy walk in and shoot it as hard as he can directly at a goalie, and the goalie kind of fall, and the guy just shoot right at him, and the keeper just kind of move out of the way like that. I've just never really seen that, so, just whatever, it is what it is, it's a goal, but it's just kind of frustrating because you're like, that could be the difference between this game being a win or a loss, so a lot of those types of things are the things that people get frustrated with FIFA. It's just, there's so much kind of ridiculous nonsense going on. I'm not saying that's the reason that you'd win or lose this specific game, but it could be the reason that you lose a game in general. So like a lot of guys during the FUT champs and stuff like that, they take losses because their team feels bad or they're doing stupid things or they're taking a loss and they come into the next game feeling like they're getting handicapped or whatever. So people complain a lot about like the state that FIFA's in, and I can't disagree. I still love the game. I still love to play it, but there's just a lot of BS that's been going on, at least that I felt with some of the gameplay, like this type of stuff. Just I need a little slip pass and that type of through ball that just finds the keeper and your player just about to get to it, but it's perfectly weighted so the keeper gets it and then your guy falls over him. That happens all the time, and it's just mind-numbing. So I'm not going to get into too much of a gripe fest about it, but it's those types of things that I really wish they would just address before they want to call this thing an esport, and that type of thing right there. Like, you guys didn't see the power bar because the game was kind of glitching out there, but I took that shot pretty early, and he essentially just waited right to the last second before shooting when the keeper had the opportunity to save it, the chance to save it. So we did end up making a change here. We took out Lacazette surprisingly, and we put on Gabriel Jesus just to mix things up, and thankfully Jesus was able to find Griezmann. I think I was ultra attacking at this point. The guy didn't generate almost any offense, and then in the second half it was even more one-sided. He was just pinned in his own third, and he was just trying to get the ball out, and he would just turn it over. You can see Bakayoko at the bottom of the screen there. He was just sitting there like a ball hawk waiting. And you guys are going to even see some of these clips. He just ends up taking the ball, and, he ends up being, this guy that just accepts passes essentially from the other team. Like, the guy's just trying to clear it, and Bakayoko just takes the pass back and forth. He just will take it, put it right back in the box. The guy will give it away. Bakayoko takes it again. So he was just end up being like a guy that would just receive passes essentially and get right back into the attack. So I don't even think this guy really got out of his own end the entire second half. And then unfortunately for him, he ends up giving a penalty. I just couldn't generate the offense, but he ends up giving a penalty because he was just panicking in the back because he was just getting onslaughted for so much of the second half. So I step up with Maradona. Penalties have been so inconsistent for me this year. I thought that he was going to save it when he went that direction, but thankfully Maradona's penalties are so high that he put it right in the corner. So I had a huge, sigh of relief after I scored that, because I was like, this guy's not going to get back in this game. Like, I was just controlling so much of the play. I felt so confident about just being able to own the rest of the game. I thought I had another one here right at the end because he was just trying to overcompensate and rush my players, and I thought Dele Alli was going to finally get his first for the club, but unfortunately wasn't able to do that. He fires the shot high and wide of the net. I think I just bottled it, but we end up getting the win. I just essentially held the ball for the rest of the game and just in his zone, just kind of trying to generate any type of third goal. But big win for the team. That takes us to 10 points. Now we have 3 games left in this division. Hopefully we can get 2 or 3 wins. If not, I'm feeling confident that we'll be able to get out of it, hopefully, knock on wood, in the next round of games, if not this one. But you guys are going to see the rest of this Division 4 run in episode 19. So until then, guys, I appreciate you sticking with us for this series, so take care, guys. Peace.